Welcome to Power Your Profit Podcast, the podcast that brings you the boldest minds in business and wealth creation. Today's guest, Chris Miller, the cash flow expert and the anti-financial advisor who's here to show you how to break through from the grind and make your money work for you. Chris knows the money game inside out. He's achieved financial independence twice, wiped out over $1 million in debt after the last recession, all without filing bankruptcy. His revolutionary strategies have been featured on US News, CNN, top podcasts like Entrepreneur on Fire and Bigger Pockets. As a founder of Money Ripples, Chris has helped clients generate a jaw-dropping $300 million in additional cash flow over the last 12 years. If you're ready to learn the secrets of wealth and financial freedom, this episode is our golden ticket. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Power Your Profits Podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Dr. Susie Carter hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to take your first steps towards explosive business growth, this podcast is for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Dr. Susie.
Oh my gosh, you guys, you are going to be so excited. First of all, I love the name of your website because that is a juicy name. So, Chris, spill the tea. You pulled off the dream not once, but twice, retiring from the grind. What's your secret sauce from stepping back multiple times and living life on your own terms?
Yeah, it was not a direct, direct path up. And even the fact that it's like I became twice financially independent, that's because I screwed up the first time, right?
Amen. It sounds sexy in a bio, though.
It sounds amazingly sexy in a bio, but in reality, it just means I screwed up and had to do it over again. And there's some good stuff to that. Obviously, I had to prove that what I was teaching and what I was doing, what I was applying, what actually worked, right? It was proven to work. I didn't just get lucky with market swings or things like that. It was something that I had to replicate and do over again, and then even help other clients do as well. But even just the first time, I mean, it was interesting because I know you guys are business owners. I mean, I was kind of looking to do the same thing myself. I went to college, realized that, all the professors there, the only ones I noticed that seemed like legit were the ones that actually were in business and then taught at the university.
Right.
So I said, you know what, I'm going to become a business consultant. That's going to be my path. I was actually a sociology major with a triple minor in psychology, ballroom dancing, and Japanese. Right. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go into business consulting, but I better get real life experience, not just an MBA. So I dropped out and I said, let's find some business. And the first one that came up was being a financial advisor, not realizing they take anybody off the street that can pretty much pass a test and not be a murderer. So I passed that, obviously, and I did that for 4 years. And I love being an entrepreneur so much. I actually didn't finish college. I ended up staying dropped out, never went back, didn't care to, because I realized I'd make more doing what I'm doing as an entrepreneur than I would getting a degree in sociology.
Right.
So I stayed on that path. And 4 years in, my dad reached out to me and says, well, Chris, when do you become my financial advisor? And I understand he was kind of the one that inspired me to go down that path. He was the one that said, like, hey, Chris, like, money doesn't grow in trees. We think I am made of money. Like, it was always about, we can never afford this, growing up. So the worst thing is he always told me, Chris, I'm going to die working. Like, my job will literally kill me from the stress, because he had already had heart attacks and strokes by his 40s and 50s. So I vowed not to have that same path and the same lifestyle. So when he reached out, I said, all right, here's my chance. I can help him finally. And as I sat down and I noticed that this guy stuffed money in his 401k like every good boy and little girl should. He paid off all his debt, including his house mortgage, right? Everything was totally 100% debt free. This guy was like Dave Ramsey's, like, not even dream come true. It was like a poster child of like, here's what I want to be when I grow up, type of Dave Ramsey, right? Well, as I look at all of his numbers, I said, Dad, here's the deal. You're 61 years old. If you want to retire today, you better hope you die in about 5 or 6 years, because that's when you're going to run out of money. Okay, what do I do?
That's a hard reality, right? That's like, every now and then you'll look at, I pull up my portfolio, like, you don't have to kill yourself. It's that old belief system that our parents gave us, like, work hard, work hard, right? No. I've set myself up. I can breathe. Your mindset plays a big part in this, right?
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
your remix? You've got like Rich Dad, Poor Dad your way. So what's your remix and what's your twist on it?
Yeah, I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad is a great book, right? I
Mm.
mean, it's a great way to get the imagination going. But when you walk away, you're like, well, does that mean I have to start a brand new real estate business? Do
Right,
I buy oil? What do I do? Right. And
right.
the how to is never really a part of that book. Heck, even as a financial advisor, I read it a couple of times and somehow twisted the narrative to believe that somehow he thought mutual funds were great, even though they weren't, because just a few weeks after I met with my dad, a friend of mine left financial advising, went to go do real estate investing, and he told me to go read another Rich Dad book called Who Took My Money, which basically rips on why mutual funds and financial advisors suck, right?
Right.
Which would have been a pretty hard, pill to swallow for myself since that was my career. But it actually woke me up
Yeah.
because I realized like I'm just a salesman in a suit. And I was already starting to see it because
Yeah.
I do like evidence. And so when I realized I was a salesman in a suit, I actually left that industry in 2006. But I would never teach about money again. I'll just be a ballroom dance instructor at the college and I'll do mortgages, right? And that was kind of my path, but I wanted to know what he did. And so I actually was able to get out of the rat race myself because I learned that you could passively invest, which is something that Rich Dad Poor Dad doesn't talk about. He
Right.
talks about becoming an investor, but it's always like you have to be the active investor. And if you're a business owner, you already got your number one investment should be your business first and foremost. You shouldn't be distracted by other things that takes you away from making the money in that real wealth machine that you got with your business. And so that's kind of what I was doing myself is, can I do something more passively? And when I realized I could like lend money to other investors, I can lend money to those active investors doing all the hard work. They pay me a certain return, like 10, 12 plus percent. 2006, they were paying even more than that. That was how stupid they were. But that was
Right.
during that previous boom back then. But I mean, like it was that simple. You could get a rental property and I was property managing, which was dumb because I'm a horrible property manager. But I've learned
Right.
since then, I could get someone else to property manage the property for me. And I could be hands off on that. I just have
Right.
to manage the property manager very occasionally. Much like in business, right? When you step away from being the kind of the technician to becoming the owner,
Right.
you realize like, wait a minute, if I can get other people to do that work, I can delegate it out. Now it can be a little bit more hands off, right? You're still gonna be a steward over your business, right? Same
Right.
thing here. You could be a steward over your money. It doesn't mean you just set it and forget it, like all those crappy financial advisors teach you. But no, it's like you could actually be able to watch over that money, not to be the one doing all the work, but still be able to watch it and make sure that it is growing the way it should be.
So how do you know? Because I agree with you. Most financial advice is bland, outdated,
Mhm.
outright unhelpful. What's wrong with it? And how do we level up our financial game? Because reading your website, you know, I do well. I feel I'm pretty sophisticated, but I know
Mhm.
when the market crashed and I crashed, I felt like a ding dong, right? Because I was
Yeah.
heavily invested in real estate. So there is this still behind the curtain nobody's talking about to go, can we just get real? Can we just really talk about it and what is, you call it the cheat code, right? So
Yeah.
let's get into the statistics. Like, give me the meat, my friend. Give me the meat.
In the meat, right? Well, yeah, like I mean, since then, let's just take the stock market for example, right? Because every financial advisor, they're like a hammer and everything looks like a nail. The nail is the stock market, and they're the broker that's going to get paid based on you putting that money in there. Now, either they make commissions off of you because you put money in, or they charge an advisor fee, like 1%, 2%, whatever it is, whether you make money or not,
Right.
which I think is a crappy business model. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, let's be honest. I mean, if you lose 20%, they still get paid. I
Right.
want to see them lose money if I lose money. That's what it should be like. But they know, just like everybody else, that they have zero control over the market. They're just guessing like everybody else. It's like Robin Hood Men in Tights. You ever watched that movie, right? Where there's Blinken, the blind
Yeah.
character that's up on the watchtower, and Robin Hood asks him, like, what are you doing up there? I'm guessing. I'm guessing no one's coming, right? Like that's what financial advisors do. They're just flat out guessing. And somehow we pay them to do that.
Right.
Now, the other extreme is, of course, I can do my own investing, right? Like I can go put my money in the stock market. And yeah, you might have a better shot potentially. But the truth is, if you just try to set it and forget it, the same mentality as you do with a financial advisor, you will also lose money. Here's the reality: people that save in mutual funds, right? I mean, I was always taught as a financial advisor that you just save $100 a month for the next 40 years, making 12%, you'll have $1 million or pretty darn close to it. Heck, even Dave Ramsey, that guy can't even do math. I mean, the guy will put on his Twitter posts all the time. He hasn't corrected his freaking math because it's wrong. He'll say if
Right.
you save $100 a month for 12 years, or sorry, for 40 years at 12%, you'll have 1.176 million. but he's actually $200,000 off. It's actually 979,000. So he doesn't even get the number right.
Right.
And people listen to this guy. They listen to this crap. And not to mention, this guy made all of his money in business. His business is worth about $50 million. And in real estate, which is worth about 150 million. So this guy is worth about $200 million. All of it's made in those places that he does not recommend. He always recommends throwing your money in the stock market, but he doesn't even do that. And that's the kind of stuff that pisses me off, I'll even tell you other stats. You said you want to get to the nitty gritty here. Fidelity, they're like the number one 401k provider out there. Of their 45 million clients in America, that's a huge chunk. Of 45 million clients, only 810,000 have at least $1 million. That includes you guys as business owners, right?
Right.
810,000. That's 1.8% of people have at least $1 million saved up. Remember, it's supposed to be $100 a month. It's supposed to be easy, right?
Right. Right.
But where is it? Well, and then even of that same group, Transamerica did a separate study saying that of those people that have at least $1 million, 35% were quoted saying it'll take a miracle to retire.
Right.
Why? Because in the financial advisor model, they tell you should not pull off more than 3% a year. 4% rule, old, broken, hasn't worked for. We were questioning that 20 years ago. That thing's been debunked so long. So 3% if you're older, 2% if you're trying to retire young, right? Is what you're supposed to live on. So say you're older, you have $1 million, living on 3%, that's 30,000 a year. That's below the poverty line. You can't do that. And this is kind of what it goes back to when I was a financial advisor before the end, right? Before I left being a traditional financial advisor. I remember sitting down with my brother-in-law, and this guy, his family were self-made millionaires. His dad was homeless at 16, went to work for a dealership at age 18. At 19, he actually decided to go to Atlanta, Georgia, get the first Chrysler dealership in the state of Utah. And by 21, he was a millionaire. This is the 1960s. So the millionaire was a big deal.
That was a big deal then. Yeah.
Yeah. Millionaire is like middle class. You're right. But he actually did it by the time he was 21 years old. And so as a financial advisor, I'm thinking, if I can get in with that family that's now self-made multimillionaires, I'm set as a financial advisor. I could just focus on these guys and a few other clients and I'm good. Well, I sat down with my brother-in-law and I had the best, this perfect presentation I spent hours on. I pressed my suit, brought the best guy from my office just to back me up, to double team him. And as I sit down, you guys know what this is like. You've sat with financial advisors. You know what this is like. I sit down with him and give my presentation. And he says, okay, that's great, Chris. But let me ask you this. If I just give you 10 grand to play with today, you're saying you can make me 12%. Is that right? I said, well, I can't make any promises because there aren't, past performance not indicative of future results, right? All that little disclaimer we always give. But, since 2000 BC, that's pretty much what it's been paying, which by the way, the market has never averaged 12% long-term. That's a complete lie and myth that I bought into.
Right.
And
I think we all have, right?
We all have. Yeah. I mean, we even believe the market will do 10%. It doesn't even do 10%, guys. It's like, even with dividends reinvested, you're lucky to get 9%. Okay.
I might have 10 or 12 on one and then the other two tank or whatever.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you only get 8%, well, it's just barely what maybe people will be able to pull off. Even 8%, you instead of that $100 a month making almost $1 million, it's like 300 grand. You have like 30% of what you were expecting just by a few percent off, right?
Right.
Off of those numbers. So he just said, Chris, if I give you 10 grand, you make me 12%, that's $1,200 a year. But Chris, I could take 10 grand. I could put a down payment on a semi truck because they still had some of their dealerships that they still own. They've sold off a bunch of them. They're like, I can take $10,000 and in my dealership make a $20,000 profit in a couple months. So why would I invest my money with you? Well, you should be diversified. You shouldn't pull all your eggs in that one basket. Besides, business is risky. Ironic, considering I had a business as a financial advisor, and I'm telling this.
Right.
Why? Because it's like liar, liar. When Jim Carrey gets on there, he's like, objection. They're like, why? It's like, because it hurts my case. Overruled. Like, I know, and he sits down, right? That's kind of what it was like for me as a financial advisor. It's like, holy cow, like I've been teaching this for so long, and yet it's a bunch of crap, You're
and like, I see the light. I see the light.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I realized that, business is your first investment. But see, here's the myth, or really the myth that you hear in business is reinvest in your business, right? Now, in the beginning, you have to. Yeah. But as you stabilize and you start becoming profitable, which I know a lot of your people are, right? When you start to stabilize and become profitable, yes, you're going to reinvest some. But if you always, quote unquote, reinvesting in your business, you're what Mike Michalowicz says is you're not profitable. You don't have any profit. If you reinvest your profits, you are not profitable. Profit means you take it home. The real question is, what do you do with that money? And the problem is we've been brainwashed that financial advisors know what to do, but the truth is they're called brokers because they're broker than you and I are, right? They're out there telling you what to do with your money and they can't do it themselves. And that's what my friend posed to me. Like what got me to really question everything was he said, well, Chris, how many of your clients are truly financially free where they don't worry about money? And I said, well, even the retired ones worry about running out of money because they fear outliving their money. Okay, so none. Good job. How about this? How many of you guys as financial advisors are financially free, not off the commissions you're earning, but actually doing these same investments? And I will tell you, I mean, I've been working in that office for 4 years. I got to know those guys pretty personally. Some of them have been working there since the late 1970s, since I was born,
Right.
and they still couldn't retire. And I said, none.
Right.
There's your
Right.
problem. I like, it's like what Tony Robbins says, right? He says that success leaves clues. So that's what got me to question, to wake up to everything is, well, where are people making money? Well, heck, if I even question Dave Ramsey, business and real estate. And that's why I focus more on real estate and alternative investments, not having to have a massive real estate business where I work full time in that too. No, that's what I was able to do it twice, right? Is how do you get enough passive income that can pay for your home's expenses so that you know that you can quit your business at any time, but you don't have to. Because if you love your business, you become now work optional. You work because you want to, not because you have to. And I'll tell you, I mean, but talking with hundreds, if not thousands of business owners, that's the one thing I hear over and over. They always say, Chris, I just want to be able to work because I want to, not because I have to. Like you said earlier, Susie, like living on my own terms, right? I want to do that. And the way to do that is to have enough passive income to pay for it. Kiyosaki teaches all the time, but he never gives you the how-to. The how-to is, how can I do that where I invest with other real estate investors, ones that are reputable, that have a good track record, which I've spent over 20 years trying to develop that kind of network, right? How do you find those kind of opportunities so then you can be a little bit more hands off? Yes, you still manage it in the sense that you still watch what's going on with your money, but you're not babysitting on a daily basis. Like when I used to be a stock trader, it didn't matter if I traded stocks and I was trying to sell people the dream. I still had to babysit that crap every single morning. And then at about every time it closed in the market too. I was trapped in my computer. I don't have to do that when I do real estate investing.
Right.
You're listening to another episode of Power Your Profits podcast. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Overwhelmed by the complexity of business profit strategies? Jump aboard the Bullet Train to Big Profits course, a streamlined solution by Dr. Susie Carter. This course is designed to uncomplicate the path to profitability. Imagine being able to identify and execute profit strategies with ease, skyrocketing your revenues. Visit course.poweryourprofits.com and sign up for the Bullet Train to Big Profits course today. Are you tired of struggling to take your business to the next level? Power Your Profits is the game-changing book you've been waiting for. Dr. Susie Carter, creator of the Predictable Success Method, reveals her proven strategies for explosive growth. From daily operations to marketing systems, this comprehensive guide empowers you to achieve predictable revenue and profit growth. Don't miss out on this invaluable wisdom. Transform your business today. Find your copy at books.poweryourprofits.com.
So let's talk about how-tos, like specifically. So when you meet with a client, right? Because I think a lot of our clients, you're speaking our language and we're still like, okay, well, what? Well, what?
Now what?
Well, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I said, I loved, we started the website is Money Ripples. And we do have, I love you have that passive income calculator, right? To have us look at, and I love the questions, right? You're just in my face. Right? How much is this? What do you owe on your home? What's your net worth? And most people would back out of that. But the minute you back out of it, you're not looking at, let's look at the real picture. Let's look at where are you at and where are you sitting? So once we look at that, what are the hows? Like, what is the how-to when you work with somebody? What's that process look like?
Yeah, that's the funny thing is that we actually use that calculator as a pre-qualifier because we don't want to work with anybody unless we know we can make them more than what they pay us, right?
Yeah.
Unlike financial advisors where you have to, you can lose money and stuff to pay them. We don't believe in that. And so it's true. Like we're, and the reason it's just in your face is because we're just like, how quick can we make it? So you can get a fast, quick result. Because it'll show you pretty realistically, as long as you put in the numbers accurately, pretty realistically, how much passive income you could create in the next 12 months, and we get some people that put in there and maybe it's like $5,000, if they don't have a lot of liquid money. And for other people, it could be like, I've seen people like show up with like 600,000, 1.2 million. I mean, just ridiculous amounts of money that could be made. And so it kind of goes back to my mantra that I've been teaching for really for the last 4 years of these 3 steps is get lean, get liquid, and get out. So
Come
get
on
lean.
now. I love it.
Yeah, get lean, get liquid, get out. Sorry, I couldn't find a good another L word, but it doesn't matter.
Good.
I actually just realized there's 2 L's there in those 3. But yeah, so get lean means like it doesn't mean live on rice and beans, right? I'm not saying like live in that kind of scarcity and just live on crappy, ramen noodles and hate your life and everything else. I'm not
Right.
saying that at all. I'm saying just be a wise steward of the money you're spending. They do say, I mean, about 75% of business owners are spenders. And
Yes.
that's why you became a business owner, because you wanted unlimited control of your income. You wanted that no cap, no ceiling, so to speak. And that's fine. Because the truth is, even if you're a spender, you can still switch that mindset to become a steward. Because I'll tell you, even savers, the people that everybody gives all the kudos to, savers actually don't get it right either. They still live a life of scarcity. They can never save enough. They never pay off their debt
Right.
fast enough. They're always trapped in their own little prison. They also have to
Stop
adjust.
busting me. Stop busting me, Chris. Right? It's like
It's
you're
true.
doing all these little buzzwords like, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Good.
So we want to be a wise steward of our money, right? And so it means tracking your money, just like you do in your business, or hopefully you're doing your business. Hopefully you're using QuickBooks
Yeah.
or whatever you're using that your accountant gets a nice, gets all hot and bothered by, which, when accountants get hot and bothered, they go from like this to this. That's how much expression you see from your accountant, right? But yeah, like when you see that happen, like, when you start tracking those numbers, tracking your business, track it at home, make sure you know how much is coming in, how much is going out. Just doing that alone, you'll find money. We've had so many people free up thousands of dollars a month without adjusting their lifestyle just because they're watching it. Because whatever you pay attention to will expand and grow. But whatever you ignore will leave you, right?
Yes.
So if you ignore your spouse, they're going to leave you. You ignore your kids, they're going to leave you. You ignore your health, it'll leave you. You ignore your teeth, they'll leave you, and ignore your money, it'll leave you too, right? So you got to make sure you're paying attention, and then you'll start recapturing more dollars. So just do that. Just be wise. Make sure you're spending money on things that you prioritize, and get rid of things that you don't. After you've done that, then it's get liquid, and that's a lot of what those questions surround. Is that a lot of those questions in that calculator are really trying to figure out, where do you have money that could be used to get out, which is that third step, right? To get out to make passive income for you. Because ironically, what we're taught by financial experts and advisors all over the time, all the time, right? Is that you're supposed to lock your money away in 401ks and IRAs and even simple IRAs, all this other stuff for business owners, right? You lock it away in that prison. You can't use it. You can't do anything with it. You can't put it in your own business. No, don't do that. Even though you get tax benefits in your own business,
Right.
right? But lock it away in these other things that have no tax benefits, because someday you're gonna have to pay taxes. And then they'll tell you to pay off your debt, right? Pay off your house, which again, you lock your money away. That's what actually happened to me in the last recession. Just so you know, part of what happened was I locked a lot of my money into the equity of my house because I was a mortgage broker. I just thought because 2006, 2007, anybody with a heartbeat could get cash out of their home. I just
Right.
thought, well, if I want a nice place to store my money, just put it in the equity of my home.
Right.
But when 2007, mid 2007, the summer going into the fall, all of a sudden the banks are telling me, sorry, we don't give loans to business owners anymore. I had equity trapped in my house and I lost all that equity because eventually the market tanked, taking my equity with it. If
Yeah.
I had been liquid, if I had that cash in my control, I could have weathered that recession storm. I wouldn't have to tell you I did it twice. I could say,
Right.
hey, that first time I had some rough times, I was still able to stay mostly financially independent, right? Um, but that wasn't the case. So don't lock your money away. Don't lock it in prison. Get it out of those prisons that every financial advisor or expert tells you to do. And that's where we get it out. And so when people say, okay, good, I've got money, like where are liquid places that could be? I mean, cash sitting on the sidelines is the easy place, of course. 2 could be mutual funds. Maybe you got mutual funds. Maybe you have IRAs and 401ks. What's that money really doing for you? Could you do what's called a self-directed IRA, or instead of keeping it in a crappy employment plan with your own company, instead get out? I've had so many people cancel their 401k plans for them and their employees because they're saying, I'd rather just give you guys the match as a raise and you guys decide what to do with it. Pay off your credit cards, buy that vacation, whatever you want to do, go do it. I'm going to take control of my own money and not pay these hefty admin fees to these, 401k administrators, right? Well, get that money out. Like, can we get it out? Again, equity. It could be not just equity in your home, because even lately I haven't been as bullish on doing that kind of thing. But a lot of times I see people say, well, I've already got real estate. I've got some rentals. But I'll tell you, like I had one guy that was a chiropractor down in San Diego. He had two homes. He had his home and then he had a rental in California. That rental had 700,000 of equity in it. Now his game plan was to be the saver. He's like, I got 6 years. If I aggressively pay off, I'll have both of these mortgages pay off. I'll say, well, great. How much cash flow will it free up when you take out tax and insurance that you'll keep paying? And it was like 4,200 a month. So 50 grand a year. I was like, okay, 50 grand a year isn't bad. But here's the thing. How much are you making per month on that real estate property you have right now? He said 200 a month. I'm like, that's the profit you're making on that? Yeah. I'm like, you realize that's a 0.3% return on your equity per year. You could put that money into a bank and make more money, right?
Right.
But he was like, yeah, but it's our property. It's our baby. It was our first one we bought. So he's emotionally attached to it. It took him 2 years before he finally said, okay, Chris, I'm going to do it. Sold that property off. He did what's called a 1031 exchange, where you can tax-free exchange it into other properties. He bought a bunch of properties down like Louisiana, a bunch of rentals out there, which have a much higher cash flow, much higher profit, right? Well, now I just talked to him just a few months ago. He updated me. He says, Chris, guess what? I've now not only made more cash flow doing that, but I've been reinvesting that cash flow. He would be at this point year 5. So next year he would have paid off all of his mortgages, right? He's already at 100,000 a year of cash flow, of passive income, which is what I told him. I told him actually before. I said, hey, in 5 years, you'll probably be about 100 grand a year of cash flow, even though he was 2 years delayed. Inflation helped him out, but still 100 grand a year that he's making on versus 200 a month, And he was hoping when it got paid off, it'd be 2,400 a month. I mean, that's how ridiculous it is. Because again, we're taught to lock our money away. So it's like, what can we do with this money? Where's some of the best places to put it? Now, he put that into properties. You don't always have to buy properties. You don't have to be a landlord. You don't have to deal with tenants, toilets, and trash. I'll go lend my money in different aspects. I can lend my money to people that are like, for example, that go and do like real estate development, do things like that. They'll pay me 1% a month on my money. So if I put 100,000 to them, I get paid 1,000 a month. I can lend my money in short-term type stuff. I can turn it and use it. I did that for a guy that he needed 50,000 to sell his apartment building off in 3 months, and he would pay 15%. I said, deal, I'll do it. Got my 50,000 back plus another, $2,000 on top of it after just 3 months, So like, again, I didn't have to do any of the work. He did that. I just got paid. I have a raw land partnership right now where I'm 70% partner, they're 30%, but they're doing all the work. I'm just the one financing it. With less than $500,000, we're already making over $11,000 a month just 3 years later. So, I mean, that's kind of stuff that, again, I can take those profits from my business, turn it into actual passive income, into actual real money, right? That could be paying me whether my business is open or not, whether we have another 2020 where they say you're non-essential again, all that crap that we saw, you're protected because you know that your family can still eat even if your business is struggling.
So how do people get to play with you or work with you, Chris? Let's talk about that. Because I think people immediately go, oh, I can't afford it, or, oh, I don't know. So let's talk about, what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is the calculator, right? Like doing the calculator. If you get at least 15,000 on the calculator, we probably should be talking. If you don't, it just means that you probably just need to like be more profitable, focus on profits in your business and take more of that money home versus just always reinvesting in the business, right? That's what it usually means. But if it's at least $15,000, there's probably something we can do one-on-one to kind of strategize more what to do. That's the beautiful thing.
So talk about what you're doing. Like you're obviously, what I love is, I always tell my clients, business doesn't have to be hard. It has to be strategic, right? Where your goals are, right? And we're saying the same thing around building wealth, because it isn't about school. It isn't talked about in families, right? People don't want to talk about money. It's like, no, let's talk about money, right? My kids are like, okay, mom, let's talk about money. So to help them debunk what we were taught for generations. And still I'm debunking what I was taught for generations, right? When I meet you to go, well, what are you doing? Here's what I did. And it's worked well. And then you hear and you're like, okay, well, let's break that myth. Let's break that myth. So what are you doing to leave your mark?
Well, that's actually why my company is called Money Ripples, funny enough. I actually started doing a podcast. I have my own podcast. I'm going into my 11th season, the Money Ripples podcast. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hopefully by this, by beginning of 2026, I should be at 1,000 episodes. So I'm really excited to hit that
That is
big
exciting.
landmark, you know?
Yes.
But unbeknownst to most people, I used to have another podcast I started in 2008 I used to call Fire Your Financial Advisor. And the whole reason I started that podcast was actually because I was kind of having my own little midlife crisis. I was just over 30 at that point, and a lot of the people that I was following that I learned from the real estate side had died in 2006. You know, right when I was learning this stuff,
Yeah.
one of the radio hosts actually was in a plane accident and died when he was 35 years old. So I started having this worry, like, what if I die? And so
Right.
that's why I started podcasting. Was one, just if I died young, you know, especially while my kids are young, because I have 8 kids, you know, blended family of 8 kids. If I die,
Okay, wait. Let me just bow to you because in this day and age, that is an anomaly, whether it's blended or
yeah, depending on who you talk to, they're like either like, wow, that's amazing, or man, you're destroying our planet, you know. But you know, like
I
that's
say
a, I mean,
amazing. I'll say amazing, Chris. It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I mean, my oldest now is 20, my youngest is 8. And so I wanted to make sure that, especially the 20-year-old when he was much younger, and all the other kids, want to make sure that there's something I could leave behind. And it also was great too, because it was the talking head stuff, you know, where if I got commonly asked questions, it's so nice to say, you know what, I answer that question, spend the next 15, 20 minutes just, you know, listening to this, and then we'll talk. Right.
Right.
So from a business standpoint, it was more for leverage, but it evolved and changed over time. And that's when, you know, 12 years ago, when I was looking to form this company, I was trying to come up with a name. I was like, what do I call it? And I was really stumped. I was trying to find something that was Kiyosaki-esque, you know, something with cash
Right.
flow in it, you know. But then I was like, you know what? What's my real vision? And I was thinking about like I had a client in North Dakota. And this client, I mean, he was working hard in his practice, you know, working like 5, sometimes 6 days a week, or 5.5 days a week. And he really wasn't, I mean, he was kind of exhausted by the time he hit the weekend. And when we worked with him without doing anything with investing, just by helping within both his practice as well as at home, we found different ways to free up about $6,000 a month for him. Not investing any money, just helping him free up cash flow, you know, tax savings, whatever it might be. Well, that's 6,000 a month. That first month, they bought a four-wheeler for $6,000. Now, if you were Dave Ramsey, you'd be shaming this guy and, you know, just saying like,
Right.
oh my gosh, you know, this is so stupid, you know, all that kind of crap. But, you know, I knew what it meant to them, because his
Right.
wife, as she's telling me about it, she's like, yeah, we just bought a four-wheeler with that $6,000. And now he feels like he has permission to take the weekends off, sometimes even Fridays. So now he's
Mm.
working 4, maybe 5 days a week. He enjoys the whole weekend. He's not stressed. He's riding that four-wheeler with our kids every single weekend. Like, we're going out and spending time as a family. She's like, you don't understand, Chris. I got my husband back and my kids got their father back.
Mm.
And she's bawling as she's talking about this, right? And that's when I was thinking about that. I was out for a run, and as I was thinking about that, all of a sudden it hit me in the head, that ripple effect, because it didn't just help him, but it created a ripple effect, a legacy through his family and also in the community. Because if you're not focused so much on your own survival and things like that, you start to focus more on others around you and how you can bless their lives. And that creates a ripple effect, not just in your community, but your country and across the world. And that's when the name Money Ripples came to mind. And that's really what this is about. My ripple effect is to help others create their ripple effect, right? How can we get people to use the blessings that they start to be blessed financially? Don't just sit on a beach. I mean, we could live a comfortable life very quietly just by living on our investments. But with great power comes great responsibility. If you're quoting, you know, from Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, I feel like if I've been blessed, I got to share it. And so that's what drives me in my business. Yeah, I'm work optional for the business, but what drives me is that ripple effect, that I know that if not me, then who? And as a result, that's where I know there could be more people's lives blessed by me being in it, which is why I keep doing the podcast, which is why we keep growing and expanding the company, especially beyond myself. You know, I'm not self-employed anymore. Now I have a team that supports me. And that's all for that very purpose, to help others do the same thing.
I love it. What's one question you wish I would have asked you?
Oh my goodness. I mean, you've got so many questions you already had prepared for me, but you know, that's a good question. I mean, I guess, well, here's one. Infinite banking. That's a strategy. That's another specific strategy, financial strategy you want to walk away with. Because again, we talk about passive income, right? And again, passive income is like the secret. That is the key. You know, investing in things. It doesn't have to be just rentals. It could be apartment buildings. It could be self-storage. Heck, there's like car wash franchises you can be a partner in, but be hands off, just financing it, right? There's even like oil and gas. Like, I'm in oil and gas investments and things like that. There's so many ways, so many things outside of Wall Street you can do. But the number one question I get from business owners is, okay, but where do I store my cash? Right? Like if I'm trying to learn where to put it, where can I store my money? Or even if I just want money liquid for my business, because you should be liquid.
Yes.
Because that's the number one thing that destroys businesses is when you're not liquid. I have a lot of friends in business that they're like, now they're trying to get into the 7 figures of liquidity versus 6 figures. They're like, no, I want
Right.
$1 million plus sitting
Yeah.
around. But, I remember I was in a mastermind with a bunch of guys, and one of my friends, he's like, okay, Chase Bank is screwing me over right now. They don't give a crap about me, even though I have millions sitting with them. What do I do? And I told him, I said, Ron, his name is Ron. I was like, Ron, here's the deal. You already know, because you already have this infinite banking strategy that we set up for you. And this infinite bank strategies, we're actually utilizing the most boring vehicle you possibly use besides a bank. And that's whole life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think it was crap, especially when I was a financial advisor. I was like, why would you do anything that boring? But right now it pays 6% tax-free, right?
Yes.
But most importantly, so one, you're getting paid more than 0.nothing% at your bank. Two, it's tax-free. I love as a business owner to have one less tax form I have to report, because I hate having all these different accounts. They all send me their little, 1099 interest statements, and I have to report. I send all those to the freaking accountant. Even if I upload them, it's still one more thing to upload. I don't get that. It's totally tax-free. Right. And here's what's cooler is in most states, it's 100% protected from lawsuits and creditors. So even if somebody sues me and wins, they can put a lien on my house. They can literally drain my bank accounts at the bank. They can take out of my IRAs, but they cannot touch this money. And right. So I use this infinite bank concept, and yeah, I can use it to invest and make money in 2 places at once. Yes, I can do that. But as a business owner, I'm realizing more and more people are just like, I just want to have liquidity, access to money that I can get to, but I want to make more than just nothing percent at the bank. And so that's what I've been using. And that's been a huge strategy. When you use it in coordination with this passive income, now you just make more interest that allows you to invest more as well.
I love it. I'm, every little point I've got like 2 pages of notes, right? It's this juicy. I wasn't taking notes or checking email, right? And what I love is there's so much right, and then there's so much opportunity, right? I love when I interview someone and it's so delicious that you're like, I do that, right? But let me revisit that, right? Maybe I did it before, or I have it as sitting over there, right? So we covered so much, from escaping debt, right, without bankruptcy, turning your money into a double agent, right, working twice as hard. If this conversation doesn't have you rethink your financial game plan, it has me rethinking mine, right? I know it will. Remember, it's not just about making money. It's about building a life, right? Very similar to the chiropractor, a life that you love. That $6,000 meant more than it in the bank, right? He got his family back, his children back. He learned to play. We don't know how to do that as entrepreneurs. So go out there, take charge, create that financial masterpiece. And if you know someone who needs Chris, like, it's heavy on your heart, and you're like, oh my God, Susie would love this, or oh my God, Dave would love this, or whoever it is, please forward it, share it on your social, right? So people can get to know Chris, because this is an untapped market. There's so many charlatans in our industry around money, that they're making money on your money. Let's stay bold and stay unstoppable, right? And keep leveling up our wealth game. It is a lifelong journey, right? This is education. This is about, how do I leverage my wealth? And Chris talks about it. It's for everyone. It's not just for the elite, but we have to do the work. So please, love this, subscribe to it, right? Don't miss another game-changing conversation we're going to have here. Chris, thank you for who you are. Thank you for being a leader in our industry. Thank you for your candid conversation and your authenticity, right? You walk the talk. You can hear it in your voice. You can hear it in your stories. I appreciate you. We were talking in the green room, my brother from another mother, right? And just walking this path about financial wealth. Until next time, I'm your host, Dr. Susie Carter, with my fabulous guest, Chris Miles, and we will see you again.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at www.poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game. So be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.